You ever finish a show you love and just wonder what happened next? Like after the screen goes black? Well, that's exactly what we're doing today, and we're tackling one of the biggest what-ifs out there.
So, let's just get right into it. What if Friends never actually ended? I'm not talking about some one-off reunion special. No, I mean, what if the show just kept going? More seasons, watching them actually live the next part of their lives. It's a pretty wild thought, right?
Okay, first thing we have to get straight. The show didn't end because they ran out of stories. Not at all. It ended on an absolute high note, like the perfect emotional peak. And that's what makes this whole thing so fascinating. What happens when you decide to keep climbing after you've already reached the summit?
All right, so let's play a game. Let's imagine the best-case scenario, the dream version of what could have been. What would those next seasons have felt like? What were the stories just waiting to be told for Monica, Chandler, Ross, Rachel, Joey, and Phoebe?
First up, Monica and Chandler. Remember where we left them? In that empty apartment, holding newborn twins? I mean, talk about a perfect setup. Their story was basically a launch pad for a whole new world of comedy. And let's be real, a lot of drama.
And this is where things get really interesting. The whole vibe of the show would have to change. Just picture it, Monica's legendary need for control going up against the beautiful, sticky chaos of two toddlers. It's an unstoppable force meeting an immovable mess. And Chandler's sarcasm? That would go from being a dating defense mechanism to an actual honest-to-God parenting survival tool.
And then, oh boy, the big one. Ross and Rachel. She got off the plane. We waited a decade for that moment. But you know how it goes. The happily ever after isn't the end of the story, it's the start of a totally different, much harder one.
The whole will they want they thing that powered the show for 10 years? Gone. Now it's about the nitty-gritty, day-to-day reality, raising Emma together, trying to balance Ross's Rossness with Rachel's massive career. And what happens when they fight? They can't just break up anymore. The safety net is gone. Now that is some serious grown-up drama.
Okay, let's talk about Joey. His story continuing could have been the most interesting of all. Seriously, think about it. Everyone else is paired off, and he's still kind of out there on his own. More seasons could have finally let him grow up to add some real depth to the character we love.
And look, this isn't about making Joey some totally different person. It's about adding new layers. What if he finally lands a serious, steady acting gig? Or what if he faces even more rejection, and that's what forces him to mature? He could have become this surprisingly deep, emotional center for everyone else. How cool would that have been?
And of course, we can't forget Phoebe. So, she's married to Mike, she's got this stable life, but come on, Phoebe and predictable, those two words don't even belong in this same sentence.
It would have been all about watching her try to fit into this quote-unquote normal life while absolutely refusing to lose that weird, wonderful spark that makes her Phoebe. You know, she'd still be singing Smelly Cat, but maybe now it's a lullaby for her own kids. It's that classic struggle. How do you stay true to yourself when your life completely changes?
Okay, so all of that, it sounds pretty great, right? More stories, more laughs. But here's the turn. There was a huge risk baked into this whole idea. A really big hidden danger that could have undone everything we loved about the show in the first place. And I get it. On paper, it sounds perfect. Who wouldn't sign up for that? More time with these people who feel like our friends. Watching them move into the next phase of life right along with us. It seems like a total no-brainer. But what's the catch? What's the price you pay for more? We have to stop and ask, what would have been lost if they kept going? What was the real risk of pushing their luck?
It really all boils down to one thing, the show's original magic. And what was that magic? It was about that very specific moment in your 20s and 30s. You know the one, the time when your friends are your family, when your career's a mess, your love life is a mess, and your future is just one giant question mark. That's what the show was about. That was the lightning in a bottle.
See, the original show was about figuring life out. If it had continued, it would have become a show about living the life they'd already figured out. All that exciting uncertainty, it gets replaced with mortgages and parent-teacher conferences. The friends who were your entire world, now they have to schedule you in between soccer practice and date night with their spouse.
And that's the heart of the problem. The show would have had to become something else entirely. Now, it might have been a good show, maybe even a great show about marriage and parenting, but it just wouldn't have been Friends anymore. The fundamental DNA, the thing that made it Friends, would be gone.
So where does that leave us? Well, it leads to a pretty powerful conclusion. The idea that maybe, just maybe, the ending we actually got wasn't a sad thing.
Maybe it was the best thing that ever could have happened for the show's legacy.
Think about it. By stopping when they did, they basically flash froze the show at its absolute peak. They protected its legacy. They made sure it would never have one of those awkward, cringy final seasons that we've seen with so many other great shows. They gave us a clean, satisfying, perfect goodbye.
And this quote really just says it all, doesn't it? The ending wasn't just a period at the end of a sentence. It was more like an open door, an invitation for us, the viewers, to take it from there.
And that's the beautiful part. In a way, the story never actually ended. It just moved. It moved off the TV screen and into our heads.
It continues every time you binge watch it on a rainy Sunday. It continues in all those crazy fan theories you read online. It continues in conversations just like this one. The show is still alive, still evolving, because we're the ones keeping it going in our collective imagination.
And really, what more could you ask for? A story that doesn't just end, but instead inspires decades of new thoughts, new conversations. A story that feels just as present today as it did when that final episode aired. That might be the most powerful kind of storytelling there is. So I'll just leave you with this to chew on. Is it possible that the most powerful story isn't one that goes on forever, but one that knows exactly when to stop and lets us write the rest in our own minds?